So we're going to go ahead and start with what we're looking at right here is my desktop, okay? And so the idea is that we've been talking a lot about the privileged space, right? Well, besides that privileged space, there's also things like spear phishing, right? Which Brian was pointing out to begin with. Um, However, though, that runs in the user space as well. So besides just having bad things happen to us as an administrator, removing that local administrator, bad things can happen in that user space. So in this instance, what part of our EPM partner workshop was is I sent this email in a VM that we shared with our customers. And the idea was that there was an embedded file here with some instructions that they're going to go ahead and open. However, though, embedded in that Excel spreadsheet, well, there's some ransomware, right? And this is how spear phishing happens. At least the bad guy was nice enough to tell us how it actually works, where we get that spear phishing campaign going on, right? Then we want to go ahead and reach out to the internet. Why do I want to do that? I want to go ahead and download my exploit kit. Then I want to go ahead and traverse the network, right? Now that I have basically planted, I want to go ahead and navigate through the rest of the domain and encrypt all the good files that I find. And so with that, what I have here on the right-hand side, I also have an HR folder share. And as we see, well, the file type has changed on all these, so I've encrypted them. I got a nice message here telling me to go ahead and send some Bitcoin to somebody because they've been encrypted. And if we go ahead and just check out one of my other documents in here, we're going to see it's encrypted. I can't open it because of that. Well, hey, let's go ahead and circumvent that because I know this was a text file. Let me go ahead and rename that guy. There we go. That's actually a document file, but we know that. Let's go ahead and just change that bad guy. And now, problem solved, right? I can go ahead and access this. Well, the reality is I can't because it's a bunch of garbage, right? Remember, it's been encrypted. So what we're going to go ahead and do then is I wish so I'm going to run my little decrypt program. Put everything back to the way it was. There we go. And remember, this all started with a spear phishing campaign, something that, quite frankly, I would have thought well, stopped by now, right? We've been doing this for a long time, Brian and I. We see this all the time. Okay. And so then when we start talking about removing local admin rights, the pushback we often get is, well, I need local admin rights to install some software, right? I get it. Because going back to Brian's example of the UAC shield, right? I have that UAC shield. It signifies, hey, I need some elevated rights. And if I go ahead and just try to install this with my local, or I should say just my domain user, right, with no privileges, this is what I get. This is a pain, right? This causes me to slow down. So what Endpoint Privilege Manager is give back some of this to the end user, right? Our end users are smart enough to click next 5 times. It doesn't take a genius to install software sometimes. So in this case, I have that same file. Again, the UAC shield is present. However, I have a policy in Endpoint Privilege Manager that is allowing my end user, John, to elevate his status to install this particular piece of software. Now, other things bad guys want, okay, are those credentials. So Endpoint Privilege Manager can lock down those really soft credential stores, easy pickings really for the bad guys. If you've gotten lazy and maybe stored your credentials in Chrome, Fit clients have this too. Microsoft SQL Management Studio, WinSCP, FileZilla, anywhere where you can store a credential for convenience, you can see I'm making air quotes now, really isn't the best place, nor are those the most secure places. So in this case, I downloaded a program off the internet. You don't have to be a genius to run this. And now I've basically stolen my ServiceNow admin account, maybe my social media. Heck, I even have the credentials for my EPM console. So I've absconded with potentially a privileged credential. And this is what the bad guys are doing. Now, For Firefox, I do have the policy enabled in Endpoint Privilege Manager. Therefore, I don't get anything back, right? We know what processes should be touching those particular credential stores. Now, with that said, we're always going to want to block people from accessing certain applications like the registry. Even though this really isn't a use case for blocking bad guys or those hackers, but think of this. If you've ever tried to fix your own computer like I have, your users can get into the registry and start deleting things. Well, guess what? Now I have to open a help desk ticket. I'm down. I'm not working because I broke my computer. Endpoint Privilege Manager can really go ahead and help our customers save money down the road by limiting what end users can do so they don't shoot themselves in the foot. Now, this comes from a POC I did. I work with a bunch of developers, and developers always need access to files, right? They need administrative access. One of those files is, there's a host file on your workstation. This host file, well, has a list of all your hosts. And so what Endpoint Privilege Manager is allowed to do then, I can come in here, edit this file, and I have a policy that's going to allow me to do this. Again, I need to have administrative rights on the workstation. So I've been able to save it, I can close it down. But just because I've given John access to that host file doesn't mean he has access to everything else within that directory. So when I go ahead and try to modify the protocol, file, format that, and I try to save it, it tells me I need to be in administrator mode. I'm going to click yes. Now, what Endpoint Privilege Manager then can do is I can go ahead and put a dialog on John's screen like this, because the idea is we don't want them to stop working. So I can go ahead and just type something in here, need this, and then through our integration with ServiceNow, other ticketing systems, I can send an email to our security director, managers, whoever can go ahead and make the decision that John needs access to this. By all means, they can approve it, and then John would have access. So I'm going to go ahead and just click OK, and that's going to go ahead and send that notification off until somebody accepts it. Once that is approved, John will get the email back letting him know that, well, you've been allowed to access it. Is on servers. Okay, so this came up from a use case from a POC I did where we had database administrators accessing servers with highly privileged credentials. Well, and all they needed to do was, well, they needed to come in and stop and start a service. Kind of crazy that I need to give somebody godlike privileges just to perform some simple task. So in this case, I can allow my users to stop and start and pause, but notice, I can't modify the startup type. If I come into the login tab, I can't modify who runs this service. So Endpoint Privilege Manager, through policy, is dictating what John has access to at a very granular level. And now with that, if I come back over to another service where I don't have access, you see the buttons are grayed out. If I go ahead into properties, now everything is grayed out. So again, Endpoint Privilege Manager on servers really have a benefit as well. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop my presentation. I see I'm coming up to my time here. I hope this was useful.